My name is Ross Osborne. I'm the MedTech, Life Science Tools, and Diagnostics Analyst. Today we have Nanox Imaging with Erez Meltzer, the CEO, and Ran Daniel, the CFO. So starting off, would you both provide a brief background on yourselves?
You first.
Okay, thank you. Born here in New York, grew up in Israel. Over the past 40 years, I was CEO of medium and pretty large global companies out of Israel, and came to Nanox as a board member in 2019, and January 2022, I took the lead on the company, and the rest is history.
Actually, I was born in Israel, but I live here right now, so we switch places. I have a degree in accounting and economics, MBA. I also have a law degree, certified here in Israel. I've been started my career with Ernst & Young, and since then I've been all kind of financial roles in private and public companies here in Israel.
Great. Erez, would you just run through the history of Nanox for those less familiar with the story and how the story has evolved over time?
So I would say like a decade ago, the founders took a technology which was developed at Sony for the flat panel displays, converted to the medical imaging business, and based on this developed the first source for the arc based on cold cathode that is converting X-ray, nano X-ray beams into the tube and to radiation to create the X-ray based on a new technology. The next one was the multi-source, where you take the 5 chips into 5 tubes and put in the arc, and this is the multi-source unit that we received the FDA clearance for. And based on the fact that we take the 5 tubes and the tilt of the arc itself, we create a 3D X-ray image, which is different from the 2D X-ray. This enabled, based on a reconstruction of the image, to create something which is a 3D dimension and add a lot of value to the image itself, by far more than the 2D X-ray regular one that is adding.
Great. Going off of that, would you discuss how your system is differentiated between X-ray and CT and how it fits in the paradigm of power between those?
Okay, so just to complete the previous question, in 2019 it became an Israeli company. Then in 2020 the company actually was taken public to an IPO, raised the capital, and in May 2023, we received the FDA clearance. With respect to the question, the simple use of the medical imaging is the 2D X-ray, which we are all familiar, which is a 2D image. The CT, different with higher radiation, is basically a 3D image that you can have a lot of value, especially for the soft tissues. What we are doing with the reconstruction of the image, we are adding another layer or other layers to the image itself, and basically you'd see a lot of things that you don't see in the 2D X-ray in the simple version of the X-ray. What's the idea? The idea is to first of all change based on the model, based on the technology, based on the by far less energy which is required. We are willing to actually change a little bit the way the medical imaging is being taken. First of all, to make it affordable and to have access to people who currently don't have access to medical imaging because of the cost of the city systems and the other units. So this is basically 2/3 of the world that don't have currently access to medical imaging. In addition, due to the fact that we, based on the MSAS model, which we'll talk later, we enable people who don't want to invest upfront a lot of money to buy the piece, to buy the unit, to enable them to pay per scan, so it's making it much more easier and accessible to this kind of use. Not to mention the energy that was mentioned, but last but not least is where this system is going to be placed, okay? One of the challenges with all kinds of the use of medical imaging is that you have to take the patient, move it from one place to another, send it to the medical. Here it's going to be placed in place where you can get an easy access and you don't have to move him to one place, go to the other one and have it on site. And this is probably the one thing. Over time, it will probably save sometimes the necessity to go for the CT, especially based on the 2D and 3D X-ray.
Got it. And so you mentioned the system being affordable. You know, what about the system allows you to offer cost-effective imaging?
First of all, the cost of the unit, which over time once we go to the mass production, we reduce it. We find more suppliers. We find new technologies which are kind of getting the breakthrough that enable us to reduce the cost, especially relative to the others. The fact that we own right now the chip itself, the fact that we engage with interesting models of structure with our suppliers to become more strategic and to have the better value or better, I would say, economic value across the value chain.
Got it. And then so you relatively recently received US 510(k) approval. Would you walk through where you see your system being used for its current indication of MSK?
Okay, so I would say that originally we thought that our system will take care of the 2/3 of the world and will get access to medical imaging to those who cannot afford it right now. In the last year, and especially following we received the FDA clearance, we realized that we're going to realign our priorities, and the US is going to be our main market. Namely, that we want to take the time that originally we thought we will be in 2023, that we will get access to the US market. We decided to start it to 2023, and in the last quarter of this year, we are going to start the deployment. We actually have a system that is already here, but we are going to start the deployment with more systems to be installed this quarter. 2024 will be kind of accelerator for this one. We have decided that we're going to start with those, first of all, with a few states, and not to go all the states together. We have to complete all the value chain, including the service company that will do the service, the salespeople, the sales structure, the support, the training program, all the regulation to approve the local places which are getting the X-ray rooms, etc. And this actually will enable us to accelerate the growth. The initial interest that we received were from actually two sources. The first one is what we call orthopedic clinic, small and medium-sized imaging centers, urgent care units, nursing facilities, outpatient facilities, medical facilities, that currently the ARC will complete their ability to serve their patients with what I offered, what I said that we are offering in addition to the simple X-ray. Right now, all the places that that will have a system that already have the 2D X-ray system, that we can actually put our system in addition to the system itself, and over time, I think that we will go to probably the ICUs and the hospitals, etc. So we're going to, as we say, start with all the power and slowly accelerate.
Sounds great. Sticking with the U.S., what does the pathway look like to expanded indications outside of MSK, and then eventually for use as a standalone offering?
Okay, I think that we will be able to say a little bit more in approximately 3 weeks when we have the investors' days. That will probably have a better clarity on what is needed for the future indication of use. Bear in mind that right now only in the U.S. is the place that we are using it adjacent to the 2D X-ray. All the rest of the world, including Israel, including those units that are in Africa, we do everything. Head to toe, MSK, chest. In Israel right now, we have a system that is operating for like quite some time, where all the initial samples were taken in the hospital. And once we get the Israeli local approval, we'll start to commercialize the unit. We are installing, in the next few months, we are installing another system in another hospital in Israel, which will take care of the pulmonary cancer indications or samples that will be taken. So this one is actually addressed that from a technical and from I would say applications point of view, then we can do right now most of the intended use case that we do. In the U.S., we think that once we go for the next letter to file or something like this, we'll be able to add, not necessarily to have it near the adjacent to the adjunct to the 2D X-ray, but also make it available for chest and for abdomen and others in the future.
Got it.
So 2023 will be kind of the year that we're going to do it.
Okay. And then thinking about your U.S. commercialization plan, you've talked about a dual pathway of offering the system via capital sale, but also on your pay per scan model. I guess maybe first off, would you just level set the room on what you mean by pay per scan? And then next, would you discuss what users may be more interested in a capital sale versus a pay per scan model?
So US probably will be a good example of the hybrid model, in which part of them will use the pay per scan with no upfront investment, just pay per scan, which includes everything, all the costs related to the installation. But based on initial indication that we already received in the market research, and including the dialogue that we have with our pipeline, we received a few indications that are saying, pay per scan is nice, but we would like to pay for the CapEx and pay the service model. So what will be the percentage of each? I think it's too early to say. I would say that we actually think or build or believe or have a hunch that it will be more towards the majority. It will be pay per scan, but definitely hybrid model, which will offer the CapEx, will be in addition to this part of the certain percentage of the total sales units.
Got it. And then switching to your OUS opportunity, would you remind everyone where you are commercial or near to being commercial in Western Africa, and then kind of the pay per scan model there?
Okay, so right now, with the exception of one location, all the units are basically pay per scan. We are waiting for. We have already systems in place right now in 3 countries. One in Nigeria that is already operating and taking samples. It's kind of a demo to be followed by others units, but all the radiologists and the team and the training was done over there. Second, we have a system in Morocco, which is already taking samples, not samples, taking images in human, and it's being operated in the largest hospital in Marrakesh. Another one is the largest hospital in Accra in Ghana, and we're waiting for the clearance there. In Morocco, the indication that we got from the distributor is that all the documents for getting the clearance was already submitted, so this is one. In addition, we are getting a lot of, right now, a lot of visits to our place in Israel. Usually it's like 3 days visit with radiologists, with a team, with commercial people that are coming actually to implement either new contracts or agreements to be signed, or the original agreements that were signed, and they are coming right now to make it right for real. So right now, this is part of the process that we're going to implement the next units in these countries, which is part of the agreements that are already signed. And right now, all of them, probably, or most of them, are based on the MSAS model.
Okay. Maybe we'll spend some more time on the paper scan model. And I realize you guys don't want to discuss underlying costs of the system for competitive reasons. But when thinking about a break-even point on a single unit, could you discuss loosely the number of scans per day, the price per scan, in order to achieve kind of a break-even on your investment?
So first of all, I think that we stick to the return investment within a year that we originally thought about. Right now, based on the indication that we currently have, yet to be seen whether this is the right thing that we're going to do. The reason, which is obvious reason why because of the fact that we might be willing to sell part of the systems based on CapEx, we prefer that at this stage to stay with the indication and not to specifically disclose until we see that we can actually sell it in the prices that we wanted to say. Ran, would you like to add on the model?
Yes, the pay per scan, or we call it the MSAS model in the US market, on all the ex-US backlog that we have 20 to 13 distribution agreements. There are varies between 3 to 6 years. There are the obligation is to a minimum of 7 scans per day. It may be higher at some places, and the price per scan is a minimum of $14 per scan, but also may higher at some places. All the minimums are based on 23 or 22 days a month and are backed by a letter of credit. In the US, the model will be a little bit different with regards to the number of the scan per day and the price per scan. Actually, over here, because the CPT code over here, it's richer than you can find in the ex-US territories, so we think that the price per scan may be higher, 20 to 25, maybe a little bit higher. It really depends on the area. Also, the CPT codes in every state and every region in the state is different, so which require different pricing, but that's the guidelines.
Great. And then, as you guys get further along with commercialization, would you, discuss how you may be able to monetize your data as far as either clinical trials to support further indications in the US or elsewhere?
So if you remember, we have the 3 divisions in the company. We have the ARC and the Hardware division, which is commercializing and do the deployment of the ARC in the world and in the US, in addition to the other smaller piece of the Connect that we mentioned, the 2D X-ray that we have. The second is what the division called the Nanox AI, which is based on what used to be Zebra. Right now, it's more and more fully integrated in the company. We've completed the integration, the post-merger integration. We are adding a lot of pieces of the AI solutions to the ARC itself, and it's really connected right now. In addition to the, maybe we'll talk about it in a second, in addition to the application that we have in the AI, which is being offered right now to the IDN in the marketplace, one of the assets that we had was the data lake of 500 million images that we had on different modalities and 30 million patients over 10 years, which created the base of what we build right now is a huge data lake. On this one will be added all the scans which USARAD is doing in the third division. Second, all the images that will be taken from the ARC and from the Connect. Based on this, we do a couple of things. First of all, we do the analytics, which enable us to go from predictive to preventive as part of the population health efforts of USARAD. Second, we actually already do data monetization in terms of the ability to take an analysis and to provide it to companies that need like 2,000 samples from this specific type of image or different. We already sold a few of them. This is in addition to the AI installation that we have with a few paying customers already. Last but not least, is the source and service division, that we sell the source to others, the chip itself or the chip with a tube. And the second is the services that we are providing with USARAD that is selling the teleradiology business, and more to come.
Absolutely. So maybe turning to your Nanox AI and diving a little bit deeper there, would you just walk through your current indications and where you're targeting next?
So right now we have two applications that are already exist with FDA and CE clearance. The first one is the cardiac calcium scoring, which is being already installed in a few institutions, generating revenues. And will be added. This is basically enable you to take the images that were analyzed and based on the AI system to predict that someone will suffer in a few years down the road from severe heart disease. And this enable us to do cases of underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed. We have showed in one case at least how many patients were actually missed as a result of that. They could have been treated for further in order to prevent future disease. The second is the bone density, the osteoporosis, which is already being installed in NHS in a few hospitals in the UK. Already here also FDA and CE clearance. Last but not least is the fatty liver, which is being developed right now, already developed and being submitted to the FDA right now for clearance as well. These are the three, and these are the three applications that we installed in a few of the IDNs and will be further installed in the marketplace that we signed. The three marketplaces. The first one, Nuance of Microsoft. The other one is Blackford of Bayer and Ferrum. And our own marketplace as well.
Okay, I'll pause there. Are there any questions from our audience? All right, if not, yes.
How much was spent by Sony in developing the product before they dropped it in effect 10 years ago?
And then to repeat for our webcast, the question was just how much was Sony invested in the product?
I don't think that we know exactly. And I think for a broadcast indication, I don't have the information enough to say clearly what's the number. But the indicative number is a lot of zeros after the digit, on the right side of the digit.
Yeah. Anyone else? All right, just a couple more for me, and I think we'll be at time. And maybe switching away from your core business, in conjunction with your 2Q results, you announced a government contract. Would you just walk through this announcement with us?
For which contract?
With the government agency to monetize your chip.
Okay, so first of all, on this one, we were not, and we are not allowed to say information, but they have taken a few samples of the chip. from what we understand, it's basically for develop something for future sensing, probably related to maybe security. But other than that, this was one example of the OEM use, and there are a few of them in the current process. More of them are related to the medical side of the business, like other players, and a few of them are related to the non-medical.
Okay, great. And then lastly, would you just walk through your company's balance sheet and how you view your path to profitability?
Okay, as of June 30th, 22, we had $80.3 million in the bank. Our burn currently was reduced for $5 to $6 million a month 18 months ago, 18 to 25 months ago, to 3 to 3.5 million a month. We raised $30 million in July 26, and we have finalized all the major capex that we have planned to do before the commercialization. So we are set up financially for accelerating the deployment at the moment.
Sounds great. Well, with that, I'd like to thank you both for your time and participating in CANTOR's conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ross.